Hello everybody, how are you today? Today I'm sat here 3.5 weeks postpartum. My daughter has arrived. She is gorgeous. She's just stunning. She's such a lovely little baby. And I'm going to share with you today what I would have packed in my hospital bag if I'd have known I was going to have an emergency C-section. Now, my birth story is quite unique. 1 in 1,000 women get Hellp Syndrome, and I was one of those 1 in 1,000. So there is a high chance that I should not be sat here and my daughter should not be here. It's quite high chances of actual death with Hellp Syndrome. That seems really funny to say out loud. Not funny, haha. Just really strange. I'm still processing everything. It was a really crazy 24 hours and then a really crazy over a week in hospital. And I'm super grateful to be sat here making this video today, because there's a chance that I might not have been sat here. So I'm really grateful for me and my daughter being here today. So moving on from that heavy stuff, we're going to get to a very light-hearted video about what I would have packed in my hospital bag. So as it was, I went in for some testing on the Wednesday just to check my blood pressure. I'd had some swollen ankles and some funny vision the week before, albeit it was quite brief. And I'd gone into hospital for a routine test for an hour just to check my blood pressure. Anyway, they ended up keeping me in, and the following day I had the baby, blah, blah, blah. I had not packed a hospital bag. I was supposed to have done it a couple of days prior on the Monday, and I just didn't get around to it. Anyway, she was born at 35 weeks plus 4. So she actually came out quite big, but she was definitely early. We both needed some care in hospital afterwards. Anyway, the point being, I'd not packed my bag. So my husband and my mum kind of had to cobble together a few bits and bobs, and I sort of kept adding to it over the course of the weeks. Thankfully, we live about 7 to 10 minutes drive from the hospital that my daughter was born at and I was staying at. So I'm really grateful that anytime I needed anything, we could just bring it in and it wasn't a big deal. So we're going to start with the things I would have packed for baby. Now, she was in the neonates and she was spent a long time under blue light therapy for jaundice. So she didn't need a lot of clothes. She just needed a kind of going home outfit. And I think that's probably the case for most babies. Then there are other things that are useful, not for her to wear, but just for me to use. So one of the things I needed to use the most were these burp cloths. Now, I've used swaddles in the past, but swaddles tend to be just too big. You put them over your shoulder. It's a lot to wash for what is quite a small patch of spit up or something like that. And also they tend to fall off your shoulder, or you sit on them and it pulls them off. So I got proper burp cloths and I'm so glad I did. If anyone has a better resource for burp cloths that's a bit better made, then I'd love to hear them. Generally, all the burp cloths I could find were made in China, which is not my preference. But I will make sure most of these things are linked down below for you to have a look at if you want to. I really love these. I just love that they're the perfect size to go over your shoulder, and they pretty much just stay there. And you put your baby on it and it catches pretty much everything. So different kinds of burp cloths are brilliant for me this time round. The other thing that I really wish I brought with me was a wet bag for some dirty clothes, mine and babies, and the swaddles, the burp cloths, anything that needed to go home to be washed would have been really helpful to go in a wet bag. I feel like that's something people don't suggest, but if you're in hospital a long time, you want to have things going home and being laundered and coming back in nice and fresh. The next thing you're going to need is nappies and wipes. Now, I think in neonates and then a kind of the low level, not urgent neonates units that we were in, did provide nappies and wipes, which was absolutely brilliant. But when she came into the ward with me, we provided our own. So we use Pura nappies this time round. I do have cloth nappies, but I'll use those a bit later on. When we were in the hospital, we just needed ease of use, and these are wonderful. They seem to have contained most everything of the newborn variety in the nappy and done a really good job. I think we used these towards the end of my daughter's nappy journey last time, and we really like them. So you can get a big box on Amazon and save that way. And then we use water wipes, always have done, probably always will do water wipes. You can buy pretty much everywhere now. We still get a really big box on our Subscribe and Save on Amazon, and we love them, use them for everything. Did take in big swaddle blankets as well, just to swaddle her up, although we didn't need to do that much because she was under the blue light so much. And in the blue light, you have to be naked, of course, and apart from your nappy. So she didn't get to wear many clothes. We took in a couple of outfits and probably just one swaddle. So we do love to swaddle our babies. It keeps them feeling really nice and safe, helps them sleep a really long time. And so we just taken a couple of those really, really big swaddle blankets, and that was perfect. And then we took a changing mat. They do have kind of like throwaway changing mats, but we wanted to take in one of our reusable ones, meant that we could change her on the bed or on where my husband was sleeping. And it was just sort of a bit easier that way. And then the last thing that I think is really important to pack is something that smells like home. For me, that's probably a scarf. I don't really wear perfume, so it's not highly scented. And just something that smells like me, that the baby can have, like, put as a little pillow, put around her head, put somewhere nearby in her little bassinet in the neonatal units, so that it smells like me and she can start to connect with me. It's as equally important to me as it is for her that we start connecting, even though we weren't in the same space all the time. And that's something that they actively ask about. Now, I didn't actually take anything like that. I completely forgot. So I just sort of took my top off, or the top I'd taken off that day or whatever, just went in there. So at least it smelled something like me. And it doesn't really matter what it is, or like daddy. It could have been on one of daddy's t-shirts or something. It doesn't really matter, but it's so important that they sleep near something that smells like home is going to smell like. So then the next thing is clothes I would have taken in for myself. The most important thing I could recommend is taking in a packet of like hotel slippers. So anytime in the last 10 years we've been to a fancy hotel that gave us free slippers, we've kept them in the packet and put them in my cupboard. And then when I really needed them, these sort of things, when I really needed them, we had a couple of pairs. So I was able to take them, wear them, and then throw them in the bin. These ones were actually put through the wash by my husband, which I thought was quite genius, so we could use them again. But those first pair just were skank. And I just wanted to get rid of them and shove them in the bin. They were like grey and nasty. And whilst the hospital is in fact a very, very clean place to be, just didn't need the reminder of the shoes. I just didn't. I didn't want to take fancy ones. I didn't want to buy like really fancy sheepskin ones. No. So I wore actually compression socks. I have on my list wool socks, but I had to wear compression socks. So I wore my lovely white compression socks that went up to my knee with these lovely white spa slippers. Anyway, felt like a princess, but it was nice I could throw them away. So then the next most important thing I could recommend anyone to get is a few boxes. I think I've gone through 4 boxes of these. They're quite expensive, but you can again get them if you get like a box set of 3 or something, you'll get a discount, I guess, on Amazon. Freedom Mum disposable postpartum underwear. They come like this. They have this really incredible stretch to them, so they're very comfortable over a C-section from the very get-go. They come up really, really high. They look so funny like this, but they actually look quite nice on. There is a sort of front and a back to them. You can kind of tell like it's sort of smaller on one side and then kind of bigger on the other side. That took me a while to figure out. But they are so, so comfortable. So I've been wearing a fresh pair of these every single day. I'm hoping that means I don't get any infections and I'm just really comfortable the whole time. Like I said, the stretch on them is something quite amazing. So it will pull over your big postpartum belly. It will be fine on a smaller one. It's not gonna hurt on your C-section at all. So hugely recommend that. And then to go alongside that, I had a couple of different pairs of postpartum kind of pads. I used the Naturacare postpartum pads. I had 2 boxes of those. I've gone completely through them. And then I got these Rael organic overnight pads. These are wonderful. These are quite expensive, but really good. They provide quite a lot of surface area for collection. I've had 0 spillages with these, but then with a C-section, you don't bleed quite as much as a regular delivery. So I really, really recommend these as well as the Naturacare ones. I was kind of going to and from either which one. They both worked pretty well. So those are the 2 things I'd recommend above everything. Everything else is quite personal, like what you like to wear, what you feel most comfortable in, but throwaway spa slippers and the pads and the Frida pants are just like perfect. Then basically it is whatever you feel most comfortable in. So I was really comfortable in my my maternity leggings after birth, but for the most part I pretty much just walked around wearing those shorts, like the Frida shorts. I also wore biker shorts. I had my husband bring in biker shorts because it can get a little bit warm sometimes in the hospital. Anyway, so that's the sort of bottom half taken care of. And then tops, shirts that you can button up, nursing tops that feel comfortable. For me, anything that pulls even slightly with any bit of stretch over my breasts at that time was really, really uncomfortable for me and was leading to clogged ducts. So it just had to be really, really loose and very, very comfortable. So there are a couple of wrap tops from Jojo Maman Baby that didn't pull in too much but gave enough support, I guess, kind of, that you could put one of the like nursing pads in them either side, and that would catch most of the leakage. But on those first few days afterwards, on day like 3 and 4, when you are super engorged and your boobs are massive, you just kind of need everything to be very loose so that you don't end up with milk fever, which has happened to me before, or engorgement that's just too uncomfortable. And then I did wear this big wool cardigan a lot. Cardigans are wonderful. You can just kind of button them over. It keeps you nice and warm and you can't really see any leakage through a wool cardigan. There are a couple of things that would have been really helpful for breastfeeding. One of them is my Hacker. I love this thing. It's basically a milk catcher because when one breast goes, the other breast goes. So you can catch your letdown in here. I catch usually just a teeny tiny bit in here, but if you squeeze it really tight and let go, you'll get a whole lot more suction and you can get huge amounts out into this thing, especially in those first few days. So if you're slightly sore when you're engorged, you can just sort of put this on, relieve it a bit, especially on a day when you're really, really engorged. You can take a little bit off. It helps the baby as well. Sometimes a newborn just can't cope with the letdown that you have, and it will stop them from having too much spit up and things like that. So a hack is really useful. I'm still using this 3.5 weeks on to catch my letdown in the middle of the night, and I guess sometimes I'll use it just to express throughout the course of the next couple of years of my breastfeeding journey. So I love a Hacker. This is one that comes with a lid as well. So if you knock it over in the middle of the night, it's not going to go anywhere. And then along with these, in the hospital, they provided bottles so I could put it in a bottle. But at home, I use the kind of the Lancino breast milk storage bags, and then I just put it in the freezer after a couple of days of use. And then another thing that I use that I wouldn't necessarily put on the list, but maybe I would, is a cabbage. It's going to sound really, really silly. I think in the last breastfeeding journey with my first daughter, I got kind of on the border of mastitis once, and I thought, I know it's an old wives' tale, but I'm just going to try it. It can't do anything bad. So I went and bought a cabbage. It's under £1 to buy a cabbage. I put cabbage leaves in either of my bras and just waited. You can sleep in them, you can put them on for 20 minutes, you can have them come from the freezer or the fridge, whatever. It worked. So on the days I was engorged, I completely avoided milk fever and any kind of clogged ducts, anything. Anytime it was quite sore, I just put a cabbage leaf on. The first night of engorgement, I slept with cabbage leaves in. It's really grateful that the hospital beds are at an angle so you can sort of like fall asleep sitting down with them in. They're not going to fall out or anything. And then the following couple of days, I just put cabbage leaves on any time it was a little bit sore, and it worked a charm. So maybe consider packing a cabbage. Then the next thing that I really wish I'd packed, didn't pack, and it was really difficult to explain what I needed to my husband, was flanges. This is sort of really funny one. In the hospital, they came around and measured me for flanges. So they gave me a breast pump because my daughter was in neonates and I really wanted to express to make sure you know, my milk supply was coming in and that she was getting my milk. She had maybe 1 load of donor milk and then it was my milk from then on. I don't know why they feed them so much in neonates when they're nursing. They hardly have anything at all and it's fine, but there we go. Anyway, she had some donor milk, which I'm so grateful for being available to her, and then it was pretty much my milk. Anyway, the point being, they came around with this like hospital grade Medela pump, really grateful for it, but they were fitting me for flanges and lots of jokes about this, but they kept measuring me way too small. It was really uncomfortable, but they would not give me the right size flange that I knew that I needed, that I had at home. So this one is a 30 mil. I'm actually not sure if this is my size or not. I've got a bunch of flanges in the bag and I haven't really used my Medela since I came home. But I wish I'd taken in all the different flanges that I had so that I didn't need to ask for them, that I didn't need to be fitted for the wrong size. It seemed like really silly that they just wouldn't give me the size I knew I needed. So if you have your own ones, take them in because they might be weird and might not give you the size that you know that you need. The other thing that they definitely don't provide that you 100% need is disposable breast pads. You will leak. It just is how it is. Even when you're catching it, you sometimes just have a letdown randomly for no reason, and you'll need them in so that you don't end up with milk everywhere. Now, in the hospital, it doesn't really matter if you have milk everywhere. At home, doesn't really matter. When you're out, it's gonna matter. And it was kind of nice when I was like going down to the units that I had a breast pads in. In previous pregnancies and postpartums, I'd bought like reusable ones, but I actually find that you can only use them once and then you have to wash them again, because otherwise you're going to end up with mastitis because there's going to be bacterial overgrowth in these cotton pads. So you have to have a lot of them and wash them quite regularly. And even then I found that the milk was so hot in those cotton breast pads that I'd still end up with clogged ducts and things like that. So I steer clear of the reusable ones and I just use disposable until my breasts can regulate and there's fewer letdowns. The next most important thing is snacks. I cannot tell you how important it was for me to have snacks that I brought from home in the hospital. The hospital food was not bad. They did provide some snacks, and towards the end of my stay I got to know the ladies that were like the dinner ladies who had the snacks, and I got extra ones of the ones I liked, which was pretty cool, like oat cakes and this lovely gluten-free Madeira cake. Really good, but not hugely nutritious. The food was pretty good, but again, there wasn't quite enough of it sometimes for me, and there were just a few holes that I could fill by asking for snacks from home. So the first thing I'd ask anyone to bring me was fresh fruit. There's something about fresh fruit that just keeps me feeling alive and happy. Apples and oranges and kiwis, and then I think I also got brought grapes by somebody once, and it was just so nice to have fresh fruit in the hospital. I can't even say. The next thing are like oat bars, flapjacks, anything with oats in that's already wrapped, and there's so many wrapped oat snacks, and these are an easy win. These ones I think were on offer, but I also happen to really like these ones. Deliciously Ella apple and raisin, and I think there's a bunch of different Deliciously Ella things. I think I've got all of them in my snack box. Shall I show you my snack box? This is hilarious. Look at this. This is absolutely filled with nighttime snacks because I just need snacks in the middle of the night quite often. Otherwise it's 12 hours, you're making milk probably 3 times or 4 times in that time frame. You need sustenance. I once saw someone preparing like a sandwich that they would have overnight, and I think that is brilliant because quite a lot of the time I don't want a sweet snack. I'd like something savoury, but I haven't quite got to making a sandwich for my middle of the night snack yet. The other thing that I love is hot broth in a thermos brought in. That happened once and it was gorgeous. It was so nice to have something savoury that was really nourishing brought in. Thermos keeps something hot for like 12 hours, so I could just sort of sip on it for that time frame. That was really nice. The other thing I loved that was a savoury, salty thing were little packets of miso soup. So they do these in my Sainsbury's. I think it's Yutaka brand, maybe, could be. I'll make sure it's linked below. Individual servings of miso soup you can put into a mug and then put hot water on the top. I was fortunate enough to be right next to the kitchen that was for the ward, and in which there was like a boiling water tap, a sink and a fridge, and packets of peppermint tea and regular tea. And so I could use that, put miso soup in a cup, and then have the boiling water tap on it, and that was really, really nice. Regular tea packets. I love tea. I love herbal tea. I even made my own mother's tonic tea, which I think I did I bring it in with me? I think I brought nettle tea and a strainer in, or had my husband bring those in, which I didn't end up using because I was sore, I was tired, I needed to ask someone else to do it, but I kept forgetting to do so. But you could bring in your own tea and a tea strainer, you could bring in packets of tea. There are so many options, and there's pretty much always going to be boiling water somewhere in a hospital. One of the other things I loved having, and partially this is because I have type 1 diabetes, but I think I'd recommend this to everybody, are these, which is honey energy gels. There are several days where you might feel nauseous, where you just don't need, you need energy, but you don't need food. And the honey energy gels did that for me. These are Hilltop energy gels. They've got some, it's got coconut water powder in there as well. So it's got electrolytes and some salt in there. So it sort of does you good if you're feeling really low on energy. It would have been really great in labour as well, had I actually gone into labour and needed energy. This would have been really helpful. In Belgium, and I used to live in Belgium, and when I had my son in the hospital there, I was really poorly in the couple of weeks after having him, and one of the doctors said to me I was worried I wasn't going to get enough, energy, and if I had a low sugar level, what would I eat? And they said, honey is wonderful. You can always digest honey. No matter how you feel, honey will always go down. And it's true. So honey is wonderful. No matter how nauseous you feel, it always stays down, and it's going to be working really, really fast to give you energy. Now, in the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're after a snack that's full of fat that will last in your tummy and keep you feeling satiated for a while, especially when you're starting your breastfeeding journey, I love these Rhythm 108 creamy coconut bars. They're quite small, but they're packed full of fat, and the ingredients list is wonderful. I buy a big multi-pack of these on my Subscribe and Save on Amazon, and you can buy them individually in Sainsbury's, but they're really expensive to buy that way. But if you want to try one, good way to do it. But I love these, so I've got a load of those in this bag as well. My next favorite thing are these organic unsulfured apricots. They taste like caramel. They are so yummy. My kids love them too. They're really squishy and delicious. They provide a lot of energy and a lot of fiber, which is also something we're always looking for, especially after a C-section or any kind of birth. We need the fiber. I absolutely love those apricots. The other thing I love to stock in this big basket are these deliciously Ella salted caramel, almond caramel cups. Love these. I buy them when they're on offer, and I buy loads of them. They are so, so yummy. So the other couple of things that I've written on this list is my water bottle. This is one of those things that everyone says, oh, you need a water bottle with a straw and it needs to be really, really big, and they're absolutely right. This came in so super duper essential. I'm really, really glad I purchased it. This was £40 from Amazon. It's a big Yeti and it has the straw. My kids have these in smaller sizes. Actually, my son's just upgraded to a big blue one, the same size as this one. And I can't say enough good things about them. They're easy to clean, they last forever. It's stainless steel, so it's very good for you and for storing your water in. There's no plastic involved. It's so, so good. It could be closed on my bed right next to me. It could be on the side. It's enough water to last all night and not need a top up, and it's just so convenient, so wonderful. And I do go through a whole one throughout the night feeds. The two other things I had brought into me were my vitamin D spray and some probiotics, because I just felt the need. I'd had antibiotics because I'd had a general anaesthetic, and it's sort of routine to provide antibiotics as well. So I had some probiotics brought in to make sure I was replenishing all those bacterias. I made sure I was having a yogurt every day when I was ordering my breakfast, and then my vitamin D spray. I was inside for like a week, so I made sure I'd had my vitamin D spray. And then the last section is kind of like body stuff, bath, body, looking after myself kind of stuff. One of the things I loved having was this magnesium balm. I would put it on my feet before I put my compression socks back on, and it just made me feel kind of like a human. It's supposed to be really good to help relax you, help you sleep, and I don't know if it works in that way, but it was just nice. It felt a little bit luxurious, and this stuff is really, really lovely. It's the Fierce Nature Magnesium Balm. I'm really, really happy to have purchased that. Then toothbrush, toothpaste, again, makes you feel like a human and just feel a bit fresh, especially when your body's sort of a bit stagnant from being in bed all the time. Then small bottles of shampoo and conditioner, soap or body wash, because you will want to bath and shower. I had a bath on about day 2 in the hospital, and then a shower a couple of times after that. And I think I would have liked to even maybe brought a few more luxurious feeling products, but at least I felt clean and fresh, and that was really, really important, as well as actually helping to, you know, disinfect and clean off the wound and everything. Hairbrush. A hairbrush was so important to me. Those first few days, I just was too weak. I had really major anemia, lots of blood loss, and having someone else brush my hair just felt so nice. I had my mum brush my hair, my husband brush my hair. It was just so nice. So hairbrush, super important. One of the other things I would hugely recommend taking in is this, which is Happy Ducks. It's a tincture. I didn't take this with me, but I wish I had sort of subsequently, because I had a blocked duct when I got home. It was just the beginnings of one, but if you have the beginnings of one, you know it's super duper sore and you want to do anything you can to get rid of it. The pain is quite substantial, and if you don't address it, it could lead to mastitis. So I'd bought this in advance, knowing that a lot of people have recommended it. It's by Wish Garden Herbs. I got it, I don't know where I got it from, somewhere online. I'll make sure that's linked below. It works like a charm. I had 6 drops of this in a little thing of water. I down it, and then I swear, like a couple of hours later, there's no plugged duct and everything's fine. So if you're struggling with engorgement or a particular duct that's really painful, then this is an absolute winner. The other thing I use alongside that is this, which is a sort of like a wheat bag, which I put in the microwave and then I'll put on the breast, and that just sort of helps all the flow of everything. But if you don't have access to a microwave, you can just take in a little hot water bottle or a big hot water bottle and just stick that on there. It'll do exactly the same thing. A hot water bottle I probably would have put in my regular bag, because you don't want your body to get cold, and depending on the kind of hospital you're in, you might need one. Ours was just the right temperature basically all of the time, and I never had a problem with my temperature regulation at all. So this wasn't necessary, but I'm using it all the time now I'm home. I make sure my bed is nice and warm when I get in it, and my feet stay nice and warm. It's so important to keep your feet warm. And then the last thing, which is important, is some kind of entertainment. Now for me, I did take books, but I was too tired to like hold the books and read the books. So I pretty much just watch stuff on my phone. We don't have an iPad or any kind of bigger screen, and so I was watching things on my phone. So the one thing I really wish I brought with me or had was a really long charging lead for my phone, so that I could then have downloaded stuff when I was at home, that would have been helpful, onto my phone, and then watched it, and it could be charging at the same time, because it uses quite a lot of battery to watch stuff on your phone. So yes, I wish I'd had a long lead charger. I did at least take my charger so I could plug it in, but my bed was so far from the wall that it just about fit and I could sort of reach it. But one of the things with the C-section scar is you don't want to be like turning round like that. It would have been really helpful to have a long lead, so it's just sat on the bed and it was no turning necessary. So I hope that was really helpful, whether you are planning a C-section or not. I think some of those things could be really, really useful to add to your hospital bag, no matter what kind of birth you're having. And even if you're not planning a hospital birth and you're planning a home birth, again, I think some of those things could be really useful. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please let me know what else you might add to your hospital bag, things I may have missed, because, you know, emergency C-section, I've never had a C-section before. There might be things that you find useful that I probably could have done with, so please leave those in the comments below. I am thinking about sharing my birth story, but I'm not sure, because, and I know some of you will ask for it, I love adding positivity into the world ultimately, and my story this time round was pretty traumatic, 1 in 1,000 kind of experience, and I would never want to scare anyone off having another baby, and it's such a low likelihood that any of you watching this end up with Hellp syndrome. So yeah, mostly I just don't want to scare anyone off having a baby, because it was scary, it was traumatic, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody out there. And we've been very, very fortunate to come out the other side of Hellp syndrome, but not everybody does. And yeah, anyway, I'm not sure. I'm definitely going to write it down for my own sake, my own processing, my own mental health, all of that. I'm definitely going to write it down so I don't forget all of the details. But there's a lot still that I don't remember that I'm going to have to get my husband to help me remember and write down. Everything happened very, very fast as well, so it's just a lot to process still, and I'm processing little bits every single day. Gorgeous. Good sleeping, darling. So whilst I might not share my birth story, I'm definitely going to be sharing all the things I did to prepare for postpartum, things I've done in postpartum, things I've loved, and things I wish I'd done. So that will be over on my podcast, which you can find here on YouTube, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere you might listen to a podcast. So hopefully I will get around to that in the next week or so, and you'll be able to find that as well. Yeah, anyway, I really hope you guys are doing well. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe it, share it, and yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.